Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to the WGLU Season 4 Match Week 11. We're into the first playday of the final two, and it's all going to come down to these next couple of games to decide a couple of changes, but nothing too much. We generally know how things are set at the moment, and obviously I am joined by my fantastic co-caster, Oliver Maxfield. How are we doing today?
Doing well. As you said, not much can go on in terms of the table, but it's going to be some interesting games. I think we're going to be treated a little bit.
Yeah, most certainly. Things to maybe see in the form of people trying out new tactics, maybe getting themselves ready towards those offline finals, which aren't too far away. But even regardless of that, obviously there were the Russian finals over the weekend, and how did that one play out? I know you and Melly were doing the coverage for it.
Yeah, I mean, Na'Vi won it. And it's not really anyone because they win every single time.
So let me tell you the obvious thing.
I mean, who else would have thought it? Na'Vi won it 1-0. To be honest, they won it on the fact that they went through the winners bracket. Obviously, you get one more map there. Unity came second, as you would expect as well. It's been Na'Vi Unity for like 3 seasons now. And the only one which didn't go that way was New Star in Season 1. And third for Mind, a very impressive run for them, obviously undefeated in the online stage. Didn't do quite so well as the offline, but for a team that's really not been doing that well, coming third is very impressive for this season.
Alrighty, so that is your Russian very small update. Obviously, there is ways to get that, kind of going for yourselves if you want more information. But let's take it back to the EU section and have a little look at the rankings. That's all going to be such an important factor here. From first, maybe down to around 7th, but below that, it's 2 stories here. Obviously, the offline finals being one, and relegation and looking towards next season being the other.
Virtus Pro School Bus, the Evil Panda Squad, Kazna Crew, TCM Gaming, and C-Play are all going to be heading towards those offline finals coming up very, very soon. More information, of course, will be released on eu.wgleague.net. That's the portal page for the Wargaming.net League. And you pretty much can find every piece of information you want to know about the teams and the statistics and all that good stuff. 7 down to 10 is where the relegation matches start to come in. They'll be facing off against the top 4 from Silver Series. And WUSA and Isuba will, at the moment, be automatically relegated. I think that's pretty much a guarantee since WUSA can't catch up with Denial.
Okay, even though we will be seeing WUSA today, let's see how that's affected them as well. And speaking of who we're going to be seeing today, we need to start thinking about today's games because, as we said, there's not a great deal of impact overall on the rankings because, obviously, we're into Playday 11. If everything hadn't been sorted by now, it would have been a bit more worrying. But regardless of that, we do have some more good games where teams can test things out, try things out, and get themselves ready towards the offline finals or their relegation matches. So first game up, FreeFall up against WUSA. The Finns against the Germans. I think FreeFall a little bit better off there in that matchup. But following that, C-Play Lucky Karaki, that could be quite close.
That's my match for the day, actually, because obviously C-Play going to the offline final, so I want to see if they were testing anything out. Lucky Cracky looked like a serious contender as well.
At one point they were.
They looked extraordinarily good. I mean, just not getting very lucky in towards the late part of the season. I think they are going to stay in the league altogether. They've been a fantastic team. Of course, Asuba, Dream Leprechaun's going to be interesting. I think really the story for today is who's going to be taking 7th place, because Lucky Karaki and Dream Leprechauns are really vying for that, and if you get 7th place, you're going to be fighting an easier team in the relegation matches.
And you'd argue that the Leprechauns have the easier matchup, obviously facing Isuba today rather than C-Play, who've qualified to the offline finals. But then again, we've seen teams coming up with crazy stuff in these last couple of games. We've seen some
Togs.
Yeah, Togs is what I'm going to say. There was some questionable tactics, so who knows? If C-Play aren't aware of this, or if maybe Isuba don't really know it either, we could see some crazy stuff coming out today. So keep that in mind. But that aside, we want to know your thoughts towards who's going to win today. Who do you think is going to pick up those scorelines? And there's obviously someone beautiful waiting to tell us how to get involved. Melly, how do the people at home get involved with us here?
It's really easy. Just open your browser and type in facebook.com/WGLEU and you'll find our Facebook page, which you should actually like since the finals are coming up. We prepared awesome content for the audience at home, for users, for fans, for followers. And of course, we have challenges during the match day. You can win bonus codes by simply participating a small poll and guessing the exact scoreline of the various matchups we have today, and by doing that, by simply guessing how the match will end, you can win bonus codes. It's very little to do for such a huge reward, since we have T2 Lite, we have a T2 Lite, 1k gold, 7 days of premium, and a guard slot in those bonus codes. So not those tiny little cookies. We have kind of a full cake here for the people at home.
And everyone likes
to start it off with metaphors, exactly.
Everyone likes cake.
And of course, you can win bonus codes by participating via Twitter. Just hand in your opinions and whatever is on your mind. If you want to share something, if you have questions for experts, you're invited to ask them via Twitter by using the hashtag WGLEU. I will forward them to them and maybe get you answers during the show. But at the end of the match day, I will reward 3 tweets of the day, and of course you will get bonus codes as well. So that's pretty much all how people can get involved.
Yeah, the cake is certainly not a lie. Do make sure you get involved on Facebook and Twitter. Don't judge me for saying these things. You don't even know where it's from. Melu's just like, oh, it's so
I'm too
early.
young for this stuff, you know? These references just go straight over my head.
We're just going to take a moment of silence. A moment of silence for the man who only plays one game in his life.
I played it on console once, and I was like, it's a good game, but... You know.
Alrighty, we're going to just move on from this because I've got a shovel over there. We can dig a deeper grave.
I'm digging my own grave here, to be honest. I don't need no shovel.
That's a very good point. But let's look at today's rankings and hope no one's going to have to dive in that big old hole that Ollie's going to be digging. So, FreeFall up against WUSA. I'd say it's maybe a game for FreeFall here rather than WUSA. But then again, you know, crazy things have happened during these last couple of play days. Who do we need to look out for?
FreeFall have been a fantastic team. I actually think they had a good runnings towards the offline finals, but just a couple of mistakes here and there, culminating in, you know, a 3-1 defeat against Evil Panda Squad in the last match day, losing actually on our first map Steps by the 5T32s we saw from that Polish team. I'm looking for Everson, Morning Wolf, Agenti, Wilkie. Obviously, I think there's some team members need to be changed around. I think Wilkie needs to retire to a tier 1 to do well. And as you were talking about, WUSA, Lorelana Thalalasa, otherwise known as what's his name, because he's changed it because no one can pronounce it. It's too long, bro. LD Nexus, FKK, Schnitzel, Commandante, all fantastic players, and Siege, the team captain, really is... he needs to do some changes. I think there's too much chaos in that team, but they have got the talent there.
Yeah, they certainly do. So we do have, you know, a bit of an open map to start with, Steps, and FreeFall have generally been quite competent on open maps. It's generally been a little bit more of a strong point for them to an extent. Do you think we might see that today? Yeah,
FreeFall have been fantastic on Steps. I actually think they've been one of the best teams. A lot of teams have kind of played this cat and mouse game, and FreeFall have actually really appreciated that the AMX 1390s, alongside the T69s, can actually work 100%. So I think it's their map.
Well, it's certainly something to keep in your mind. Get involved on Twitter and Facebook. Let us know who you think is going to pick up this first map, and obviously overall, maybe give it a couple of seconds, see how these guys are playing, see what tanks they're choosing, see how they're playing, you know, the mental games going on, are they on form or not, and then get your tweets and your Facebook posts through to us, obviously on the WGL EU kind of following of the URLs. Very easy stuff there. Overall, your prediction, FreeFall?
FreeFall. Definitely.
Yeah, same for me. I think WUSA's kind of let me down a little bit this season. Not sure how you guys feel about that one. They've had hit and miss performances, sometimes trying out things that just weren't quite working. Let's see if FreeFall can keep up that rather stunning form on the first map, Steps. Alrighty, so welcome into the game here, ladies and gents. In the north, in blue, it will be FreeFall, and in the south, in red, it's going to be WUSA. And let's see how this one plays out for now. At the moment, it looks like FreeFall taking their time, but we are live into this. So what are they up to so far?
Heading over towards the right side, Psycho Mike, Everson, Agenti, Wilkie, and finally Morning Wolf, and that slightly slower Pershing. And same really goes for a WUSA. Both teams obviously like to go over towards the right side. FreeFall have typically done this over and over again. They just want to go for that early engagement, get the better positioning, and to be honest, after the changes to this map, I don't actually think the southern area is actually a bad call at all. Obviously, Everson going to be trying to make the couple of shots at the beginning, and maybe he's going to hit a couple. But pretty standard start from both. Psycho Mike also making some spots, and really, I think what FreeFall want to do is just try and, you know, play it out a little bit, and then come back around when it goes into like the later stage of the game, maybe 6-minute mark, and then go with that double split push. They've used classically on this map before, where they send in 3 MX-3090s, usually for one angle, have the 2 T69s, or the Pershing and the T69 in this case, have them hold down and have them shooting as much as they can. So like a lot of options for them. And really the best one would be for them just to go forwards and think positively, because it's not a big deal, actually, if they didn't win it.
Yeah, so a lot of options here, and for me it's all watching FreeFall in this one. WUSA have been quite reactive, I'd say. They occasionally come out with something impressive. Originally they were one of the teams that had the very, very passive style to this map, sitting way into the north, kind of where QQ is right here, but they've kind of adapted that a little further forward. So they are making a bit more of an effort to find these shots, find these kind of engagements, and it looks like they're edging a little closer. LD Nexus not far away now. You can see Morning Wolf just on the horizon. LD Nexus might go for a cheeky little shot here. He's certainly got the capabilities to do so, and he'll connect it. 264 does get done towards Morning Wolf. And there we go. Another couple of shells come through. And Morning Wolf and Psycho Mike have to back away a little more cautiously here.
Sorry if you just jumped out your seats with sudden burst of sound, but yeah, it looks like we're back. Psycho Mike making a couple of shells, and maybe that is a problem from the south. If you have a team which has got a lot of hull down tanks, especially the T-32s, they can really just put a lot of pressure on you. So FreeFall needs to kind of react a little bit, go back, and then just come from another angle. And it's really a good point for FreeFall. They're very, very good at reacting, very good at changing things up and seeing when the other team is doing, reacting to what they're doing, and doing it at the perfect time. You know, for instance, Evil Panda Squad comes to mind in the previous match day on Cliff, where they saw the aggressive play from them, they reacted it, and they went straight back in afterwards.
Yeah, and you can see WUSA's getting a little more aggressive. Those 1390s certainly heading forward now. QQ up there as well. Not too aggressive, but it's LD Nexus and Siege looking for these shots actively, looking to find these opponents. And at the moment, they're not finding too many people. You could imagine the rotate just kind of cutting them off, hence why they're splitting their odds, leaving the likes of QQ back in base. Now, Siege and LD Nexus are retracting away, maybe looking for a different angle they can find, maybe a shot on, but at the moment, certainly WUSA leading the pace here, pushing the trenches into their favor. Stefan and what's his name backing away as well. And was that the initial opening game plan from WUSA, do you feel?
Yeah, it's a great thing about the north. You can just push forwards, and you have plenty of kind of obstacles between you and the other team, and you basically need to just get one from one obstacle to another obstacle. So you have cover, you have firing positions, but the thing is with those two T-32s, they are kind of slow and they are cumbersome, so they're kind of easy to hit, and you're really the only place you can put them is over the trench zone. So FreeFall has complete free reign over the rest of the map. So as you can see, Wilkie, Psycho Mike heading forwards towards the cap of WUSA, and maybe that's the move coming out from FreeFall. But typically they've been a team that likes to basically go for the engagement. They like to have the firepower in those AMX 1390s coming in from the flank and the T69s from another location. So I'd be surprised if they do go for the cap, or at least they can go for the cap, but at the same time go for the engagement with their combat tanks.
Let's see what they go for here. It looks like those T-32s aren't stopping anytime soon. They're going to spot out Beaverus real quick. Not going to land the shot on the cross. They need to be a little bit more cautious from Psycho Mike and Co, as there are a good couple of players over here. You can see them moving around, trying to hunt these guys out. Stefan and what's his name still trying to find the pressure. The 1390's not really with them either. Let's keep that in mind. LD Nexus a little further back. QQ all the way down by that railroad. So interesting split of players. I'm not sure if I like this kind of over the... I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm sold by this positioning just yet from WUSA. It's a little bit out on its own. They could get caught out here. Well, it's LD Nexus to find Beaver, so tier 1 down there for FreeFall. What are they up to now?
Well, the thing about WUSA is that they've kind of split up their forces quite a bit, and they are together over towards the cap zones finally, but the thing is they're having to go backwards and forwards. There's a lot of traverse time, which you don't want as a T-32. Because you're basically getting kited around the map. I think they're doing a pretty good job though. They're basically not letting FreeFall go anywhere near the base or get themselves into a decent position. So they're having to continuously adapt. But that's the thing, with those MX 1390s, they can do that. They can change it up. And that's really going to be the best thing for them as the spots do come out. The two T-32, what's his name, and Stefan are heading down the middle. So they're going to be putting a little bit of middle pressure. They can't, FreeFall can't engage onto them because the T-32s will be hull down, so they get the first couple of shells, and they're supported from behind. So a lot of problems for FreeFall, but it does give them the ability to take this trench side, which is a massive, massive plus, because with this T-32s, as I said before, you want to be having the trench. It's basically the only location you can play it effectively. So now FreeFall's got it. It could be the nail in the coffin for WUSA.
It could be. We'll have to see what WUSA does, though. WUSA still looks like they're trying to execute this plan. Started in the trenches, rotated round towards the east side, And obviously using the middle line as well. Stefan and what's his name in those T-32s doing that sort of job there. But all in all, we have managed to spot out Morning Wolf and Everson. Seish trying to find a little bit of a pixel shot here. Don't think he's going to grab that really. But he's keeping his team in the know-how. They're going to fall back. And it's that cat and mouse game that we've been seeing consistently throughout this season, where one rotates and the other will follow and try and chase. However, obviously the T69 in there, the 1390s with FreeFall, give them a little bit of a speed bonus, whereas the T32s, as you mentioned, not quite as malleable as the 1390 that can whisk its way wherever it wants. But the T32s are catching up. They're trying to get back to a more defensive position, maybe in case there is that counter engagement coming through from FreeFall. But for now, it's just a bit of a back and forth. And with 3 minutes left, is anyone really going to be able to catch each other out here?
I'm not sure. It's back and forwards, as you said. It's more classic steps, which we're not particularly used to seeing from FreeFall. They like to go for that fast, aggressive movement. And I think, WUSA just changing locations the whole time would have given FreeFall a way in, but they haven't used those AMX 3090s particularly effectively. Sompo, the only tier 1 remaining, is still, kind of playing the offensive scout and not really, for instance, looking towards the base cap. And FreeFall in general are just keeping their eyes towards the trench side, making sure that they're spotting defensively, knowing where WUSA is going to come from if they do decide to push on into the T30 from the T32s in towards the trench. So a lot of questions FreeFall needs to be asking. 2 minutes and 15 seconds. This is really cut-off time if we're going to see a draw or win for these two teams. But I think, we've seen, for instance, on this map, 1 minute and 20 seconds was when the team went from, a draw to a win. So anything's possible. It's steps. It's pretty easy to cap on if you do it correctly. It is in the middle of a field, but if you put enough pressure on and towards the kind of bottlenecks, then you could do very well and you could possibly take it. But still, 1 minute and 45 seconds left. I don't think we're going to see much.
A bit of a shame here. Obviously a bit of a strength occasionally for FreeFall this map. Wouldn't have been a bad idea to pick up the first one if they could have done so. Stefan consistently being spotted there. Obviously the T32 not exactly a subtle tank in the mix, but regardless of that fact, FreeFall not really wanting to make much of a move on it. And WUSA did try and make a couple of engagements. They certainly did more damage there than the opponents, but doesn't really equate to much, as right now we are still seeing these guys just kind of going back and forth a little bit. Seish getting a little bit of fire, what's his name as well. What's his name taking a lot of fire, tell a lie. He's getting it from both sides. Everson, Wilkie, Agenti. Everson will claim it, QQ5 Sumper, but I still don't think we're going to see a full engagement here. Although there's a minute left, they could do a bit of damage.
Yeah, LD Nexus is taking a lot from the side, as you said. What's his name going down? Agenti follows for FreeFall, so Seish probably on reload now with that AMX 3090, as is Wilkie. 50 seconds left. Everson also on reload, and really Morning Wolf the only one to stop Stefan.
And Wilkie's been called out by two. LD Nexus and Seish moving in. Oh, and they've set him on fire just to make it hurt more. And LD Nexus just watched him burn, saved the shell for Everson, turns around, gets one done, waits for Seish to help him out, though he's going pretty low. QQ has found one, but 30 seconds left. It's heating up here, but surely not enough time.
Ooh, 30 seconds, I know. Morning Wolf is pretty low. Depends on the reloads with the AMX 3090s. Morning Wolf doing what he can. QQ's also coming in. And 636 HP, about 1,015 seconds for WUSA to take it off.
Well, Stefan did find Morning Wolf, and now, well, it's all pretty much on Everson. Can he stay alive here? Seish is chasing him down. 8 seconds left. 6 seconds. Keep your eyes on that timer. I don't think they're going to be able to catch him in time. That's unbelievable dodging skills from Everson. And it will be a draw out on the first map. And it all came down to Everson with those moves like Jagger, but he was able to escape. But still, I got a little bit close for comfort then. I think they maybe thought it was just over before it almost was, and there was that second of, oh Jesus, they could do this.
And you could see how badly FreeFall did that when really WUSA was the one who was going aggressive with those T32s. Yep. FreeFall had plenty of opportunities with the spotting, but they should have just gone in and just take the T32 down really quickly and then moved on to the T69s. But yeah, Steps actually pretty interesting these days in terms of how fast you can actually win the map, because it's so open, there's such little cover. If you take down the tier 1s of the other team so they can't hide, they can't draw it out, then you can honestly wipe out the enemy team or go for the cap within that 1 minute and 30 seconds kind of time zone. So, yeah, Steps is a bit strange one. You can see LD Nexus is going to go in against Wilkie, and he actually gets set on fire here, I believe.
And I've got to say, I really like the play from LD Nexus, knowing that setting Wilkie on fire right now was enough, so he didn't waste the next shell. He could turn around and then focus on the next tank coming around, which was Everson. It's a smart play. He might go down in the end, but He was able to do a little bit more damage towards Everson, which made it a little bit easier if they would have been able to catch him in the end. But regardless of that fact, it was a fairly close game, all in all. It just seemed like both of them expected the draw from the very start, and then one got a little bit more surprised than the other when they went for a small engagement. But with that now behind us, first map done and dusted, we need to look towards Cliff, the second one coming up. Fairly open, but it seems it has more of a linear storyline towards it. If teams want to engage, they can do. But we don't always see it. It depends on the teams, it feels.
Yeah, FreeFall's actually pretty good at this one as well. There's quite a couple of good maps for them, to be honest. I thought Steps maybe would have gone their way as well. But FreeFall, it does suit them because they've got that reactive ability, which a lot of teams seem to lack, and perhaps WUSA being one of them as well. But WUSA does have a really good ability just to brute force situations. Yeah, they only have like one win in the whole season and like one draw against Kazakh, surprisingly. But they can be a good team if put under pressure, and I think they've got all the elements there. They need that binding force. I'm not sure exactly what it's like on their voice comms, because I know, a lot of people. I would really want to hear voice comms. We live in Europe, obviously, and the teams, quite a lot of them are all national teams, so it would be kind of useless. It's not like they're all speaking English, which is, the second language of Europe.
To translate.
Yeah, but then we get Polish or Russian, and then we have a big problem.
Then we're a little bit in trouble.
Yeah, that might be a problem. But the voice comms in World of Tanks is insane if you listen to it, and I honestly think it would be really interesting if I spoke like 15 languages. But yeah, I would like to hear that, and I think they would have it would give us a good clue and a good insight into why WUSA doesn't perform as a team if we did listen to their team speak, for instance.
But I'm trying to think of what teams actually speak native English out of all of them.
I think Kazna probably does, because of German Brait and that lot, and Elian, obviously. I know Donal, they have Mary Torres, who doesn't speak, he's from Ukraine, I think, so he doesn't speak, or Russia, doesn't speak Polish, obviously. Probably he does understand it. TCM, of course.
So there's a good couple of English speakers in there. But
then we've got Verts Pro, School Bus, Denial, Evil Panda Squad, Lucky, Cracky, FreeFall, Drooling Leprechauns. All these guys are like national teams, and that's actually a big transition, because at the beginning it was a lot of mixed teams. Now it's more kind of national based.
It is interesting though, but most games that depend on such communication do end up being fairly, within country, or at least within speaking the same language. You look at other games, it's fairly common, or you may occasionally get the super team made of just mixtured regions thrown together, and they hope they all speak English. But sometimes you've seen teams actually have a bit of a downfall when they add in an additional player who's not from the same country or speaks the same language, and you see them actually then having issues to communicate. It's quite amusing. I look at some other teams who now have a player who can speak limited English, for example, but his native language, Korean, is one of the players, has another player in the same team who can speak Korean, so he has to translate for him mid-game. And it's like, can you imagine there's like insane. That latency almost in trying to relay a call.
And having to concentrate that much, the guy translating from English to Korean.
It must be sick. Ridiculously hard, and it's the same for a couple of Russian speakers.
I know there's a couple
English,
of teams.
I know, we're atrocious.
Let alone
at this.
Korean, plus that one would be way too hard.
But no, it is quite interesting to see all the different teams kind of having that different aspect to them. We are just getting the tank lineups, and I think Everson's having a couple of issues getting into the game, but hopefully that'll be resolved nice and quickly, and he'll be rejoining us. But for me, I don't know. It's strange. In loads of other games, it's generally the ones who come together as the superstar mixed team almost, and then they try and make it work. Either phenomenal and they completely spank the rest of the scene, or they just do nothing. So it's a bit of a weird kind of back and forth. In certain games, it does seem completely region locked in a way. It's like CS is quite similar, that you'll have pure Swedish teams, pure German teams.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Swedish teams is like a good example in CS, to be honest.
They are just like the overlords.
But just Swedish teams, full stop, done, end of sentence.
But it's true though, it's weird. You generally get quite region-locked teams in that game, but other games are really mixtured.
Yeah,
don't seem to worry.
Even from my own experience, having superstars in one team, at the beginning of World of Tanks, we had a lot of top players in my team, which we just threw together because we were literally like a clan of 100 of the best players on the server at the time, and we were like, let's pick the 7 best players, and we did, and it worked for a few months. And then you have little few problems here, study here, and when you don't have that synergy and you have the greatest communication, then that's where the problem comes for us.
Yeah, that's true.
It could work, it does work.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of little things.
You need to all be on that same point.
And for instance, if you're German, your exams are at the same time.
Probably, yeah.
So you can schedule a lot better. Whereas if English, German, French, You know, you
Different
kind of
time zones,
so like
different
you have a
everything,
whole
yeah.
year just taken up by exams or whatever. So it becomes
and then
a
you
problem.
just never pick up Finnish people because you can only have them for like maybe a year or
Yeah,
two,
yeah.
and then they're off to
Then
army.
they're done.
It's
Yeah.
great. Like I love it when the Finnish refer to going to the army. It's like he go army. It's like he's not going to the army. It's he go army. It's just like really just narrowed down to that statement. I absolutely love it. But you know, as we said, a couple of teams have actually fallen to that. Even in World of Tanks, we've seen Muppety going to army. For his team. We are just waiting on the final nod from WUSA. We're almost ready, guys. Do not worry. And we'll get underway. But let us know your thoughts, obviously, on region, not teams. Do you think it's a bonus? Do you think it limits teams, maybe, if they want to pick up someone external? But you know, let us know your thoughts on that, obviously, using the hashtag WGLEU on Twitter. It's always good to hear from you guys, and hopefully we can get this one rolling. But you said this is not a bad map for FreeFall. Steps wasn't a bad map either on paper, but it was a little bit back and forth. Is this going to be a close one again, or do you think we might see an aggressive stance or passive from these teams?
See, I'm not sure if it's a good map for FreeFall, but the thing is, WUSA's really not very good at many maps, so it's kind of that disparity in the relationship between them two gives FreeFall an edge on almost everything, maybe apart from, you know, the classic Himmelsdorf or maybe Ruhenberg, but then FreeFall can just camp on that one. So, yeah, I think FreeFall will take it, though.
I'm exactly with you on this one. I'm hoping they can finally step up and get that scoreline to represent our opinions. But regardless of that, let's get our eyes turned to the next map, Cliff. Alrighty, so welcome into battle number 2. We are here on Cliff between WUSA and FreeFall. And in the south, in red it'll be WUSA, and in the north in blue it's FreeFall, who you guys are backing with 73% of your votes so far. So what are we seeing from these two teams?
FreeFall heading up towards the middle area with pretty much all their tanks and what we'd expect, really. It's Clef. It really happens on both sides. As WUSA also heading up in towards the middle.
Yeah, QQ, Seesh, LD Nexus, what's his name? All heading through. And let's see what they get up to first of all. It seems as though we're going to be seeing the push around towards that east side. Oh, lovely connecting shots. QQ and Seesh take 2 on the way through. And what's his name takes another. This is beautiful play from FreeFall. Nice work watching that cross. And they've made that really hurt to those 1390s early on. So not sure how they're going to come back off of this. But the Finns are looking pretty damn aggressive here. And let's bear in mind, Stefan and LD Nexus just getting into position. This spells trouble.
Yeah, FreeFall have to retreat though because they did use a lot of shells on that cross, but good initial damage. LD next to QQ Seesh and what's his name all taking some shells. What's his name taking a couple. So FreeFall now, you know, they have asserted their dominance at the beginning of the game. They've got about 600, 700, 800 HP advantage. Now they just need to use it. You can see straight away Psycho Mike, Wilkie are heading around. Agenti, Psycho Mike even, and Wilkie's going to be joining later. So FreeFall very dynamic, very quick, very reactive. Maybe not such a good thing, but since they do have that advantage, they can push it, they can go forwards, they have a little bit of breathing room to play around with. So obviously we have to kind of see how that one works out. Agenti, Psycho Mike being very, very careful. They don't want to make the same mistakes, for instance, TCM made on this map by being too aggressive, because despite the fact that they've done a lot of damage, it's not enough to win the game.
No, we'll have to wait and see. There's not too many players to catch out. Even if those two 1390s do come around, Stefan and LD Nexus are fairly safe. And looking on towards the other side, it's just Seesh and a couple of the others getting a good bit of fire through towards Morning Wolf. They've been caught out in the open. Nice play comes in. Morning Wolf appears again. Stefan still doing the work in that T69. Sompa's taking a beating. And where's that other group of 1390s? Where are these guys? They need support right now. Morning Wolf and Sompa surely going to go down. LD Nexus brings it home from on top of the lighthouse base. Even exchange finally. He chips away and gets the advantage, gets the kill, takes 2 big players down for FreeFall, and WUSA have turned this one on its head.
It's another story for FreeFall. They're not fast enough when they react. They're too slow. and then they get caught out because they're out of position, kind of rotating, and Wilkie and Agenti are taking more damage.
Yeah, they're going for this one. They have to commit here. Well, they're trying to at least. Wilkie comes round. Agenti first, but the firing squad of LD Nexus and Stefan still raining down Fury. What's his name? Finds Agenti, but it's Wilkie on towards QQ. Wilkie left on near or nothing. 43 HP. Oh, but he's still going. There's the second. What's his name? Does fall. Can he get any more? He's chasing down Siege. He's a man on a mission here. Rufy finds Carambola, but still, this is very close for comfort, and Psycho Mike's not out of it yet. He's still sitting fairly pretty here.
And Stefan as well, 1,350 HP, Siege 844. At the moment, it's game over for FreeFall. You have to really try this one. 2 tanks, one on really a one-shot even for a tier 1, and Siege and Stefan find him.
There we go, Stefan comes in, 500 damage accumulated between the two. And well, that T-69 can easily land these shells, and he's going to do just that. The cap did begin. Oh my god, Psycho Mike on fire. He just about saves a life, 5 HP, Wilkie on 43. They could literally go down to a strong breeze right now. This is just very unpleasant to watch.
They could go down via tier 1 just crashing into them.
Oh, and he's done it.
I told you, the Luxor making that shell with a 20mm Spano, 10 damage per shot, worked a treat.
And now Wilkie, I'm not sure how well he can do here. LD Nexus knows where he's at, and this is just going to go very badly wrong. If a tier 1 can take down his teammate, he's not feeling too fresh either. 21 seconds on the cap. Everyone's moving in here for pretty much the kill, and Wilkie knows that. He can't do much. He's trying to do something, trying to get that reset, but 13 seconds. I don't think he can get this one in the bag, sadly, but he's going to give it a good attempt. Anyway, 2 seconds left. Makes the shot, didn't land. Base captured, ladies and gents, and hell, even Siege to land the shell on the way out. WUSA picking up a solid victory there on Cliff.
Yeah, not bad at all from them. Impressive that they actually saw that FreeFall out of position.
Yeah.
They kind of knew that FreeFall are actually around the cliff with the AMX 3090, so they could actually just collapse on the T69s. But again, it's more FreeFall's fault because they were so slow to the mark around that corner. You know, exactly like they did against Evil Panda Squad, they got the initial advantage and then they just didn't know what to do with it. It played really tentatively, and that basically gives the other team an open door. It says, you know, here's an invite, RSVP, you know, you're coming. It just doesn't work. You have to have one or the other. You can't split your resources up. And if you do, the place with the less resources needs to be very well defended. So you can see there, Stefan, and also towards the left is LD Nexus and the AMX 3090, and look how much damage they can do. Despite the fact that, well, FreeFall were pretty close, they couldn't do enough to take it back.
Yeah, Sompra and Morning Wolf got absolutely punished then. LD Nexus just to his left, just off camera there. So really well done then in the end to them. Obviously WUSA, a bit of a rarity seeing them picking up victories on this, but when they play decisive and when they really find the weaknesses and go for it, they seem quite a competent side. We've always said that they have a hell of a lot of potential. Some very impressive previous results, obviously, before this season kicked off, but they just never were able to translate it into what we were going to see throughout the WGL EU, sadly. But it's always good to start playing, you know, when it really matters. They've kind of missed the cutoff to get, you know, within the top of the season, but if they keep, you know, practicing, getting back to where they should be, we never know. We could see them in a couple of seasons returning and really doing some damage, obviously. But still, we need to start looking at the next map now. It's going to be Ensk, first city map we're going to see. You said that maybe WUSA's a little bit more competent on the city-based maps. You know, Ensk can be played on the green zone, but generally we do get to see it towards the railroad or the city area these days. What can we expect from this? Is this the map where they can get it to a 2-0 so far?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Ensk is where WUSA can really shine. I think Himmelsdorf. Are you
saying it's the Himmelsdorf for them?
Yeah, I think it's more Himmelsdorf. I mean, we look at, for instance, TCM Gaming versus WUSA, which was their last matchup. Very impressive stuff from TCM, but they really didn't have to try on Ensk. It was from the south. WUSA started. They kind of took the green zone, went a little bit too aggressive. TCM had tanks up an A0. And it was very A1 even, and it was very easy for them just to kind of shoot down onto WUSA. So they were too aggressive. They weren't really thinking through their strategies. It was kind of, you know, a little bit lackluster, I have to say. And maybe if they make a few adjustments and a few different calls, they could do a lot of damage on this map. But I haven't seen it yet.
Let's bear in mind, they did manage to draw out against Kazna on this one. That's where they eventually picked up. That you may argue that was more a mistake on Kazna's behalf, but regardless, they have some okay results here, but I think overall FreeFall do tend to have the better style on this. They may not even be the most competent team in the world, but in the last couple of maps we've seen from FreeFall, they've not really been playing that well. Let's be honest here. They had a mouse game on steps. It wasn't pretty. Cliff, they made a bit of a good couple of errors. The WUSA are even able to punish. Is there a chance that FreeFall this time are going to be even more worried about making those mistakes? Could this really cost them now?
They're going to be very worried about making mistakes. They're 1-0 down. We've already played 2 maps, This is really do or die time for FreeFall in terms of where they want to be at the end of the season, how confident they are in towards the next season if they do get through the relegation matches. And of course, no one wants to be playing, for instance, GG Well Played, who are coming at the moment first through A series, also Synergy coming up, those poor bastards also coming through.
Yeah.
So a lot of top teams and a lot of teams that are really, really passionate about getting into this league. So FreeFall got to step it up and make sure that they're keeping themselves in the best possible position in those relegation matches. So lineups are in. It's double MX5100, double IS3, T32, double tier 1 for WUSA, and for FreeFall more classic double MX5100, triple IS3.
So fairly similar lineups all in all. We'll have to see how it comes into effect. The teams are ready. Guys, let's get our attention turned towards the next map, Ensk. Alrighty, welcome to battle number 3, ladies and gents. We are here on Ensk, the first city map we're going to be seeing today, and I wonder if those votes are going to stay the same. Last time we checked in, it was 73. We'll check in after this map to see where you guys are at, because at the moment, WUSA are leading with that map to good. They'll be starting the south in red, FreeFall in the north in blue. Will your faith continue with the Finns, or will you switch sides? What are we seeing so far?
It looks like FreeFall are going straight in towards the city. This is not something we've seen at all this season. Maybe once we've seen it, maybe at the beginning.
From the south normally, don't we, if anything.
This is definitely a FreeFall tactic where they want to catch out the other team. They hardly ever do this. They're always reacting to what other teams are doing. This time they're going to go on the offensive. Could be risky, or it could be a completely better trait for them. And they might also be saying, okay, WUSA, you usually go towards the green zone, so we're going to take the city as quickly as possible. And so far it's true.
Yeah, exactly as expected to an extent. We'll have to see if this one pays off. They're not exactly being aggressive here, WUSA. They're passively being in the green zone. What's his name? LD Nexus, the Lux, all fairly far back. But then again, T32s, 5100s, not exactly the quickest tanks in the world, but they're certainly taking their time on this one. No spots being made either towards the FreeFall side. This could be a bit of a problem if they do get caught out, as you mentioned.
Morning Wolf heading back towards the base. A little bit concerned, perhaps, WUSA are going to be trying to go for the cap, and also you can see FreeFall only got 1 tier 1, which could possibly spot out the cap. Beaver is sitting up there, but the view range not so good, and also there's no line of sight. Obviously in World of Tanks, if you don't have a line of sight, then you're not actually going to spot the other team. You're not going to spot anything. So Morning Wolf going forwards, trying to hit a couple of trees down. Of course, the crown of the tree is where the camera comes from, really nothing else apart from that. And really FreeFall as well, just they got that middle center of the map, the middle area of the map, and maybe just going to play out from here. WUSA doing what they do best on Ensk from the south. That's just chill back, get some good positioning. You got the 5100s quite far up, what's his name, in Seek, and they're just going to be able to rain down hell if FreeFall does, for instance, go for the capping maneuver.
See, now, generally, we've seen a couple of teams eventually get to this position from the north, but it's obviously not quite as quick as this. I'm trying to think of how the caps generally go down. If the north team does push down towards the south and they do go for that cap, is there enough cover these days? We've kind of had this occasional situation where it does pay out quite well for them, but WUSA seem pretty ready for this if it does come down to it. Could this be a problem if, let's say, FreeFall do go for it?
It could be a problem. WUSA are now 1-0 up, so they really have a little bit of breathing room. And just to relax, basically, 7 minutes and 23 seconds, they want to try something, got a little bit of time to do so. But yeah, it has been a dangerous maneuver from the north. Basically, what you need to do is get your tier 1s behind these 2 rail carts, and then you need to commit all your resources down here, and you basically need to stop these players all along from actually trying to decap. So the 100% the maneuvers to cap And if you can do some damage and actually get the advantage in terms of tanks dead, then that's really a good thing as well. A few shells coming out, taking down the cover, as WUSA does get a little bit scared that FreeFall are going to be going for that. And to be honest, it would be a good move from them. Heading around towards the cap with the tier 1s, making sure they don't die is really, really important. Keeping 150, 100 there to defend the tier 1s and just block for the shells coming towards them, trying to reset. And then send the other 4 tanks in terms of combat tanks up and towards the WUSA guys sitting up behind these buildings.
Well, at the moment, I'll say WUSA did put Stefan a little aggressively up towards the north, though. Rufy up there with him. And we'll have to see if they find anything. There is a couple of players up here. Carambola was certainly one of them, but Sompa being spotted out might cause a retraction from Stefan now, as we see him appearing right down towards the south in that IS-3. Might give away a little bit of the game here. And certainly going to worry the likes of LD Nexus, Sish and QQ. Might be first on the line if they do go for a push, but then again, they have caused Stefan to fall back. He's being a little cautious once he makes it across these 6 and 7 lines. Obviously, there's an opportunity for a tank to be sitting up there and doing the damage. We've seen it in the last couple of games. Certainly been a proving point, but I'm waiting to see who commits here. There's 5 minutes left, and no one's really making much of a full move. They're toying with the idea, though.
FreeFall are heading up towards the base, so this could be interesting. In my opinion, Wilkie and Gigenti are just going to take one of these 2 train carts and head down. I'm not sure if the green zone is really a good idea with Roofy there.
Yeah.
Because these 2 are going to get spotted out very quickly, and that tier 1 really does play that role well. In my opinion, the tier 1s can be a little bit obtrusive, and they often get caught out really just to spot one IS-3. So if you look at it, Roofy's just sitting here. So he's realistically only going to spot Gigenti and Wilkie. 10 seconds later, these 2 are going to go invisible for FreeFall, for WUSA again. So that 10 seconds is not a long time in the grand scheme of things, so these 2 can just reverse back and come up here again. So Roofy, I think, is too far ahead. He should probably be up somewhere in towards the more northern area, so he can spot, but also not die at the same time.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to keep an eye on it, but as you said, maybe a little bit too aggressive. If he gets caught out, he will go down in a matter of seconds. But outside that, what's his name fairly pushed up. It looks as though they're partially expecting this, as Stefan is keeping eyes on towards the north side here, as Wilkie, Morning Wolf, and a couple of the others, Psycho Mike obviously joining them up there. So they have a bit of an inkling, but even with that in mind, FreeFall made such a aggressive first move. They've now got their tier 1s down towards the south. Is there an end game here for them, or are they just seeing if WUSA will respond early?
Stefan reacting a little bit there. I think there is an end game. There's no end game for WUSA in terms of stopping FreeFall, but I think FreeFall are waiting for their time to shine. 3 minutes and 58 seconds on a map like Ensk, which is very big, is a bit too early to push. But when it does come, I think Beaverus and Carambola are going to go in towards the cap, sit there, then really hope that the rest of their team can do the job they need to be doing, which is decapping, moving in, and then making sure that they can actually stay alive long enough. It's going to be about 45 seconds if 2 tanks are there. So a lot of interesting stuff potentially from FreeFall side. But I said I don't think WUSA are going to go for the aggressive move. Instead, they're just constantly reacting to Beaverus and Carambola as they do start heading that way.
Well, this would be interesting. Stefan was watching this a little earlier on, but from that 6 and 7 line, closer to the mark would be LD Nexus, and one behind being QQ. These 2 could do some serious damage here if those tier 1s are not careful. Sompa is not too far away either. Let's see if those tier 1s do go for the move in the end. At the moment, though, you can see WUSA fairly spread out, but mostly focusing towards the south. Stefan does get spotted, as it looks like Wilkie and co are going to start making their move down that 6 and 7 line. Yeah,
the 2 tier 1s distracted WUSA perfectly. Now, the real firepower of FreeFall, only 2 IS-3s have been spotted. You've got to remember that the 250, 100 Psycho Mike and Morning Wolf are unspotted, and WUSA's in a position to stop the cap. They're not in a position to deal with 4 tanks.
Well, let's find out. What's his name? And Stefan might be on the receiving end here. 4 tanks moving in. Let's see if it's going to hurt them. At the moment, it's what's his name getting the damage on Stefan. Nice work towards Agenti on the cross. He gets held pretty damn heavily, and now we're seeing the final push. That end game coming in for FreeFall.
Yeah, they're going to go for the cap. 2 tier 1s heading in there. You got 1 IS-3 in front, and the rest of the tanks trying to distract.
Yeah, Wilkie moving in quite aggressively, getting in towards the face of LD Next and QQ. Sompa finds the Lux tier 1 down. Agenti being focused, but it's Wilkie to fall first. Sish lands that one in, no problem. You can see him right at the back there, laying down fire from afar, getting these shells connecting. 14 seconds on the cap. This is a fast one if they can make it count, but at the moment, what's his name not there? Stefan moves in aggressively in the IS-3, challenging Morning Wolf, trying to get these shells towards the tanks that are capping this one out. He needs to get this done. Stefan does take down Beaver's 30 seconds now on the cap, but he's put himself in a terrible position. LD Nexus takes down Psycho Mike, and Stefan still trying to find more, still trying to reset this cap, get the job done. Stefan does go down towards Zomper. Morning Wolf left on nothing. This is a scrappy battle if I've ever seen one.
Tier 1's doing really what they can do, but it's going to be game over. What's his name? Camarola, the last one alive. QQ, and what's his name? Dispatching him easily. Morning Wolf left in that MX-5100 dies via LD Nexus. And only two tanks, one combat tank dead for WUSA.
And you said the WUSA weren't in a position to receive a push, but they were for a cap. Why then did FreeFall not go for the push towards the tanks rather than the cap? Were they just so focused towards actually just trying to get that cap on the go?
Yeah, they had an idea and they just said, we have to run with it. We have to go with it. We're not going to adapt anything. And I think that might have been the problem. They should have done more damage. I think everyone should have, maybe apart from Wilkie, who was the first one to go through, everyone should have stopped and focused all their firepower onto those T-32, because they do eventually need to die. Your IS-3 defending the Tier 1s can live long enough for there not to be any kind of repercussions, at least at the beginning.
It seemed that as soon as Agenti took a bit of damage when they're crossing over, they seemed to panic almost, like, oh, okay, just rush the cap. As you said, Wilkie did go further forward. They were so focused on this cap that the back cap did even begin for WUSA, so certainly keeping their options open and just sharing the received damage as well as dealing it. Siege all the way at the back, laying down some great fire. They really were set up for this.
And there's a lot of mistakes in terms of focus fire and things like that for FreeFall as well. Look how many tanks are on half HP for WUSA. You got what's his name and QQ, and the Psycho Mike shooting LD Nexus. Morning Wolf is shooting Stefan even, so it's just not good stuff from them altogether. They need to be focusing, because you want to get a gun out of the game. You don't want to just do 99% damage to 5 tanks, for instance.
Yeah, obviously mistakes being made there for the Finns, and you guys voted very heavily in their favor, and I've got to say it, they're just not performing like normal. They look a little bit weaker than they normally do. They don't have that very decisive moves. When they go aggressive, normally the Finns, they just go all in. They, hammer and tong it forward. But, they seemed a little hesitant. As you said, lacking that kind of focus fire to take down the targets that were necessary. Who do you think they should have focused, primarily? Was there a target they should have gone instantly for? Or was it just more knowing who's a bit more vulnerable than the others?
It doesn't really matter. As long as you go for a combat tank, go for an IS-3, go for a T-32, just pick one and focus it. Because if you get 5 guns all onto one tank, it's going to be dead pretty much immediately, especially with FreeFall had the 3 IS-3s, 390 average damage. It's already 1.2k. You add 250 100s and you're already a couple of hundred over what you need to be doing. So focus fire very important. FreeFall, they lacked it, but WUSA had one big advantage, was that they had the better positioning, so they could focus fire a lot easier. It's not just about when you're actually in the engagement, it's the positioning you start the engagement with, which gives you a little bit of an advantage. Now, FreeFall 2-0 down, heading on to the 4th map. Mines. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do this one, to be honest.
Yeah, let's be honest here. WUSA have been fairly competent on mines. They've been occasionally completely awful, but overall they've been okay. I wouldn't say it's one of their weaker maps. I wouldn't say it's like your standard open map. I don't think we can even call mines an open map. It doesn't play out like anything else. It's a little bit unique in its style, maybe towards more like Cliff in a way, the way it kind of gets played through. But even that in mind, is this a chance for WUSA now to claim this, or do you think they'll go for the double T-32 stack and play it out passively?
I think this is really WUSA's going to play defensively. I don't think FreeFall are going to be able to break it. WUSA have been very good with those T-32s. I'm not sure exactly what side they're starting. I think FreeFall starting from the south, WUSA from the north, so
might make it a little bit harder.
It's going to make it harder for WUSA to camp. I think actually from the north it's pretty much impossible to camp. Lineouts coming in: double AMX 3090, WZ132, double T69 for FreeFall. The Chinese Tier 8 light tank obviously sported quite a lot these days in the league. Triple AMX 3090, double T69, double Tier 1 for WUSA. So yeah, I think FreeFall are going to go aggressive, and I think looking at WUSA's lineup with the AMX 3090s and T69s, they're also going to go for it here.
Well, we'll have to find out. Obviously, the WZ132 will make it to that hill first, and it will have fire first. But we've seen that also being the downfall as well, and it kind of going wrong for a couple of teams who have utilised it rather than the 1390s, both having their pluses and minuses. Your predictions coming to this final one, is this going to be WUSA's?
I think
well,
FreeFall...
possibly final one.
Yeah, I think FreeFall probably will take this one. I say this every single time because I think they're the better team, but I think this is their time to shine.
All right, I'm going to back WUSA for once, and let's see if that all goes wrong. So I think the teams are ready. I'm not too sure. There we go. The teams are counting down. So guys, let's get our attention turned to what could be the final map, Mines. Alrighty, welcome to battle number 4, and at the moment WUSA are leading with 2 maps to 0. And they'll be starting off in the north in red, and in the south in blue it's going to be FreeFall. What are these guys getting up to?
Last time FreeFall pushed onto the hill on Mines,
Wow.
they used a WZ132 and the MX3090, beating Evil Panel Squad with a 2 WZ132. So I think, you know, if they do go for that push, they're going to be able to win out. But you can see immediately WUSA are going on the defense, and it's not going to work if FreeFall have any kind of idea of how to play this map.
Well, at the moment, big damage comes across, and well, they did catch a Genti a little bit, but still, those T69s a little bit further from the action than I'd like. And Siege further forward in the 1390. I feel to play this north side, they could have got beefier tanks to play these positions. The 1390 isn't exactly, you know, the T32 IS3 we normally see in this sort of spot. I'm not sure if I'm reading this right. Maybe, I don't know, what is their plan here, WUSA? They're playing so passively, but in such a strange spot.
To be fair, I don't know why they would have picked those tanks, you know. As you said, the IS3, the T32 are all options, and good options, to be honest. And if you're going to play where, for instance, what's his name and LD Nexus are, pick the 416. They're sitting back in the perfect location for that tank. You know, the M63, 320 damage. You just sit there, shoot. You don't need a particularly good turret traverse, which is his big weakness. And you have a great reload. So I'm not sure why they would have picked, for instance, the MX3090, which really doesn't have a good reload. The accuracy is lacking. You know, the time between shots is higher than the T69. Aim down time is really bad, but FreeFall have a lot of options because of what WUSA have picked. I think the best one would be take down Roofy first. He's the most important one, and indeed both tier 1s going down would be fantastic, as do try and land a couple of shells onto the Lux. Wilkie does get spotted.
Yeah, Wilkie taking a bit of damage there, mostly from LD Nexus from afar, but Roofy is out in, well, no man's land almost. He's probably going to be found here by the duo of Beaverus and Agenti, and once he falls, it opens up a little bit of a little bit of trouble, but it looks as though they're already expecting this. LD Nexus turns the turret and gets some more damage done. This is not bad play so far from WUSA, but I feel there could be a breaking point for these guys.
Where will that come from? That's the question. Genti making a couple of shells, takes a couple of his own, down to 655, as Wilkie also received one. The best idea for them would be to deal with the tier 1s. It's so essential that the tier 1s go down because WUSA can just go for the cap and also spot out, basically, and that's what's keeping, you know, Agenti and Beaverus constantly spotted. LD Nexus does finally receive a shell as the Siege, but maybe even just a push straight down the hill. You got Siege there on his own. You kind of need to take him out first. What's his name, LD Nexus, if they make a few shells, then they'll be on reload, so you have about a 30-second window. But the problem is there's Stefan and QQ sitting really far back. That's the main problem for FreeFall.
And well, at the moment you can see the shells coming through. Most of them not necessarily blind shots, maybe looking for that little bit of a pixel they can connect on towards. LD Nexus having to be passive now. He's got a lot of fire coming in. He can't really make those shots towards Beaverus and Agenti while the others are firing towards him, the likes of Wilkie. Stefan and QQ near on useless now in those T69s. I'm not sold by this. You can see the fire coming towards LD Nexus. Just limiting his ability to peek out. But all in all, WUSA, I'm really not sold by this. Like, don't get me wrong, they might get away with it because FreeFall don't know how to quite undo it, but I'm really not sure. Roofy's still doing a great job in that tier 1, just keeping Beaverus and Agenti under wraps, but I get it, but I think there's better ways to do it, if that makes sense. You know, it doesn't seem completely logical to me. We're going to have to wait and see if FreeFall... It's pretty much down to FreeFall to make the moves here, because other than that, WUSA are very happy just turtling in down and playing this passive game.
I think the best move would be coming from the right, actually. Roofy needs to go, as I said. Well, the problem isn't really, you know, what they do when they go from the right. It's where they end up being. If they go to this side or this side, it could be the problem, because QQ and Stefan actually won't be able to shoot them because there's so much cover there. And Siege probably would go down pretty quickly as long as you keep Morning Wolf, for instance, in the T69 in the middle, just to, you know, keep LD Nexus, for instance, constantly busy. And Psycho Mike makes a couple of shells towards LD Nexus. No connections. 5 minutes and 25 seconds left. FreeFall needs to win this game. They're 2-0 down. If this is a draw, then WUSA really has yeah, exactly, they win. We'll go on to the last map, but the most FreeFall could hope for is a 2-1 scoreline, which would still mean they wouldn't get the 3 points. And WUSA, they are pretty much out of the league. You know, they got 7 points. If they get another 3, they'll be at the same as Denal, but they won't go down in terms of ranking because Denal has a better win-to-loss ratio on maps. So that's always a big thing. Wilkie finally takes on the Lux, and that could be the way in there for WUSA.
Yeah, it certainly could be. The Lux did try and peek out. He'd spotted Somper earlier on, but this is going to cause the likes of Stefan to be a little bit more cautious towards that Lighthouse Island. We're seeing Siege actually adjusting, as he would have been near on facing the... Well, his rear would have been facing Wilkie, which is not exactly what you want. So he's going to be falling back to an even further passive position, maybe trying to find a little place to be able to keep eyes on the likes of Wilkie if he decides to push across. But still, FreeFall are finding ways through, and Siege near on out of the map, just so far back here. Unbelievable. But, you know, is this enough of an opening now for maybe FreeFall to start that move, or are they still looking for maybe a couple more shots here and there?
And Genti's gone quite far forward, so I think the move is going to come in pretty quickly and pretty soon. A couple of more shells coming the way of LD Nexus, of course. Now you can shoot through walls and stuff. And he's going to return back around up towards Beaverus in the tier 1. So FreeFall got a little bit of time left, and you can see WUSA how campy they are in towards the right side, and they've really won it more because of FreeFall's mistakes than anything else. If this does hit 0, or if WUSA do manage to take down all of FreeFall's tanks. But it's going to be a move. I'm just not sure if it's going to be early or if it's going to be late. It's already pretty late into the battle, 3 minutes and 31 seconds. And as long as FreeFall don't drive over anything and give the game away, then there should be a surprise attack from their part. They need to get as far towards WUSA as possible without WUSA spotting them. I actually think, looking at this now, Wilkie is in a very dangerous location. He could easily go left and take down QQ and Stefan, because really the only place you can get sniped off from if you go left is the hill. This is not an effective place to shoot tanks coming from here, and this is where they will be a little bit late to the party. So once Wilkie gets spotted, at least he should be safe by then.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how this one keeps going through. At the moment, just those shells back and forward and back and forward. Yet really the only damage came towards LD Nexus, came towards Siege, and that's pretty much it, excluding that tier 1 that did go down on that Lighthouse Island thanks to Wilkie. So at the moment, the setup seems to be working from WUSA in the south. That defensive style maybe coming into effect a little more. You can see in the overall view, it's not looking too aggressive from FreeFall just yet. They've got 2 minutes and 26 seconds left to do this. At the moment, Roofy now in trouble. That could be the start of not a downfall necessarily, but certainly a bit of a weak point here.
Yeah, Roofy needs to go down very, very quickly now. 2 minutes and 13 seconds. Time running out for FreeFall, and they do have a little bit of advantage in terms of damage. LD Nexus down to 640, C8 68. Roofy also on 40 HP in that tier 1. Morning Wolf now heading forwards, Beaverus from the right, and that's the firepower. Agenti, Wilkie, Psycho Mike towards the right side. They're going to come in from the city, hoping that Roofy goes down very early so they go unspotted. Ooh. If it's a bit of an extended push. But Beaverus doing a fantastic job there, taking down Roofy.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were waiting on. That's what they needed, and now they've got a little bit more free reign over that right side, the east side of this map, the village that rarely gets touched, but LD Nexus yet to really worry about it, still keeping eyes on that main push across, and now Psycho Mike getting a little close for comfort. This could start hurting. LD Nexus is a little bit out on a limb. The fire will be coming in very soon, but Psycho Mike and Agenti moving up here. The T-69's let off a good couple of shells, but Into the Lion's Den, Psycho Mike goes. He's not going away from this, but what's his name will claim it easily. Agenti surely going to fall to the same fate, and that is unbelievable. They just walked into that crossfire. What on earth are they doing?
They didn't think they would take so much damage as they went up the hill, but LD Nexus and what's his name are there. I think they only thought LD Nexus was there, so they had to have one target, but there were two. LD Nexus get caught.
Yeah, LD Nexus still has a little bit of cover though. Beaver's surely going to fall to his hand. Oh, he misses the shell. There's LD Nexus. Needed that one. Now we're seeing the counter push off the hill coming out from WUSA. They are trying to make this one with 48 seconds. Sompa to the right. They know there are players up ahead. They know they want this victory. 43 seconds left. They look like they want to make the move here. What's his name? Stefan QQ moving in. Wilkie, the first on the chopping board, gets the shell towards what's his name, but a double kill comes in. Session, what's his name, claiming it. And now Morning Wolf looks vulnerable. Looks like he's getting beaten black and blue. And my god, it's reflecting the damage. One shell will do the job. But now, where is Everson? Can he withstand the onslaught? Now 22 seconds. They've got a time limit to this one.
Everson looks like he's just not in the game at all, to be honest. 15 seconds left. FreeFall already know it's game over. Everson gets bodied, but is it enough time to take him down?
Let's find out. I'm not sure about the reload situation here. Couple of shells come in. 8 seconds. QQ moves in. There's the second. 608, 339, 4 seconds. There we go. QQ claims it. WUSA claim 3 maps there. Mine's being the deciding one. That's quite a decisive ending.
And bringing up their second win of the season, finally, when it's not relevant at all anymore.
Of course. Like, if there's any other way to do it.
Well, as soon as they are not under pressure, they do well. But yeah, WUSA just were the better team. FreeFall, they tried a few interesting tactics, but WUSA, they had every single answer. They knew where FreeFall were constantly. They had the tier 1 spots, right? There's a good map awareness in general. FreeFall tried things and WUSA were already ready and waiting, prepared to deal with them.
I liked it on mine, so they went for that counter push. It's something we don't always see. We see it occasionally that we say they should go for these counter pushes, you know, when they feel confident, when they feel ready, and actually really kind of test their opponents. We don't always see it, but it certainly worked out then. So congratulations, WUSA, picking up the victory a little late in the season, but regardless, you did the job. And that puts FreeFall in a bit of trouble because, you know, they're still fairly secure, but it's not how you want to be kind of finishing off a season where they've been playing fairly well. It's certainly something that the community didn't expect either.
Not really. Today is like the day of some stuff that happens rarely. WUSA winning and the community being wrong.
Who would have thought it?
So you people at home still voting for FreeFall with 51%. Well, you're still in the last map, so you don't know how this will end at this point. But I think it will change the vote, of course. People are constantly voting, and I'll invite you guys, if you haven't voted yet, head over to facebook.com/WGLEU and hand in your vote. Vote for your favorite team, and if you expect a draw, then still vote for your favorite team. We just want to see which team is in your favor and then predict the exact scoreline of this matchup in the form field below and submit your prediction. And by getting it right, you get the chance to win one of 3 bonus codes containing a T2 Lite, 1k gold, 7 days of premium, a garage slot, and that was all. I think it's enough, I guess. And of course, head over to Twitter and get in the conversation and tell us what you think about the matchups, and follow our Twitter account at WGLEU. So if you have to leave, like later, and can't watch the stream anymore, don't be sad. I will keep you updated and posted about the happenings on the server, so you won't miss anything going on here. And if I check my tweet deck yet, I have no questions so far. I mean, you said it earlier, Ollie. WUSA can actually win maps. We saw it once, and now today as well. And so you said it seems like they have trouble handling the pressure. How do you get this routine? By just playing? I mean, it's obvious, but are there any other ways to get used to the pressure on the server when it actually counts and when you have to bring your part in the game?
Yeah, I mean, WUSA are great players, of course. They are fantastic players, all unicums, all sick at the game. But there's a lot of personalities in that team. There's a lot of people that shout a lot, and I've just been on a TeamSpeak before, and they've been playing games, and it's been chaotic to say the very least. You know, there's a lot of egos there. And, you know, it doesn't work when you have so many egos in a team. I'm not sure if ego is the right word, but they just haven't got the communication nailed. You know, Na'Vi, you know, Virtus Pro, all the top teams, they've got egos in there. They've got people like Strike and Powerslide, you know, making a lot of noise. Kusok, he's a big ego as well. All these guys are having to train to basically play that down. They still have to be a team. They still have to stay calm in battles. make some noise, but just be directive and be clear and clinical as opposed to anything else.
See, I think it's all about having fun as well. You know, if you start really enjoying what you're doing, because sometimes when you do train so much, you play it every day in and out, you start losing a lot of what makes the game fun. And it's what I used to get, when I trained before an event. You'd play day in, day out. You'd train the most boring, dull things in the world, but it can make a difference. But if you lose that little bit of fun, you start worrying, you overthink things, you overdo things, you get stressed at your teammates. If you're not enjoying it as a collective, you need to find that fun again as a team. And if they're only coming into their own when it doesn't matter, that it does matter obviously, but it's not an important thing for the overall season, then they've got to look internally. Communication has to be one, just finding their kind of enjoyment factor. As you said, a great team. What changed from WCG to now to WGL EU? There's got to be something happening there, whether it be the fact that they're not as dedicated anymore. Maybe they've, just in it for enjoying it purely and they don't take it seriously, then fine. But then again, when you can see them pulling this stuff off, it's like, well, you clearly can still play this game. What's happened in between those, that season pretty much, or from the World Finals, we're all like, well, not the World Finals, the global, big finals we're doing with every region coming in, every kind of country represented. We're like, well, these guys, they're WCG winners, they're taking down these teams for massive reputation to them. And then they did absolutely nothing. They got absolutely smashed. And it's like, maybe that kind of broke the confidence down. Maybe they just don't play enough as a team anymore. I remember we were talking to Schnitzel, I think it was, in the airport just before we left, and they were like, well, we don't play as much anymore. We don't have the same collective that we used to have. We lost a couple of players here and there, but maybe they just need to find that little bit of a spark that made them the team again, I feel.
Okay, thank you so much. So if you guys have questions, just head over to Twitter and tweet us by simply using hashtag WGLEU. And, well, if you don't have questions, I will come up with such stupid stuff like this. But you brilliantly solved that situation. Thank you very much. So head over to Twitter and hand in your questions, and I will get you your answers.
Well, there you go, guys. Do get involved, otherwise Melly will have to just talk nonsense to us. No one wants to hear that, right? Our rubbish answers. We're awful at games. No one wants to hear our opinions, really.
Ours are like 2 years old, I think.
I know, we're so irrelevant these days.
It's a good like a whiskey and cigar. That's
Indeed, it's like just put your CRT on an hour before so it can warm up a little more.
Exactly.
On your Windows mouse, get that going.
Yeah, trackable for the win.
Oh, Windows mouses were pretty good, all right.
Intelli, yeah.
Yeah, the Intelli 1.1, man. That was.
Exactly.
Do you remember this, or was that on a console as well? No, I didn't think so.
It was a full €9 of investment, but
it was
lasted
amazing.
for
What I used to do is I used to have to
years.
steal mice from my school.
I bet you're the kids who stole the little ball things from the bottom
No,
of it
I had to
and threw it
steal
at
mice
other
because I
people.
kept on breaking them from the school IT department. But
No, I'm not going to lie. I swear to God, some of the old equipment back in the days is still better than some of the
Exactly.
stuff these days. Like, I kid you not. Like, when I see some of these mice for like €90, I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
right?
it's. I'm just like, really, you can literally get a better mouse for like €10 somewhere. Come on now.
And keyboards as well. You
Oh,
get
don't.
really cheap keyboards,
Don't.
which are
Like
great.
the old cherry ones with the cherry switches.
The proper cherry
Bestest.
switches. Like, this is a bit of a random off-topic discussion, but regardless, up in our Studio 4, the new one, we've got like this really old school production keyboard, and it's got the proper old cherry switches, and I'm just like, I
Those
just
are
make
the best.
extra lower thirds
Yeah.
just to type on it. It's absolutely brilliant. But no, regardless of our oldness aside, we are far too old for gaming these days. All of us here. It was
Happy
my birthday recently. Now I'm
Lauren,
just
it
ancient.
was Lauren's
It's great.
birthday on Saturday, so people head over to Twitter, and congratulations to Lauren, of course, from my side, and from you at They Call Me Pansy.
Wow, I feel old as hell
No,
now.
I'm not gonna sing. I'm not gonna sing.
No.
I'm not gonna
Finally,
put you
we
in.
did sing
Finally
actually.
18, Lauren.
Yeah.
Singing?
We did.
Really?
We all went out
We
and had a
sang.
little song.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
had a little
it was
song in the
good.
middle of the street.
Yeah, it was
Loved
beautiful. It was majestic as hell. But
I thought now, but I
No.
think
No, I'm not
people's
singing.
ears
I'm not singing
will
on
start
live.
bleeding.
I'm not
Yeah.
singing on live show. No. way.
yes, now I am officially old. Let's get back to the topic of WGLEU Season 4. Match week 11, second to last match week, obviously. Well, no, it's the last match week. It's the second to last play day, as we still have one more to go. But anyway, that aside, we've seen a great game already come out from WUSA. Question is, can we see it from C-Play and Lucky Karaki? Now, those two will be up next, so do stay tuned. And don't go too far away, 'cause we'll be back in 5 minutes.